Welcome back to the Post-Secondary Transition Podcast, where we have conversations around the ins and outs and everything in between of the transition process for families of students with disabilities. I'm one of the hosts. My name is Megan Smallwood.
And my name is Patrick Cadigan, and we are both public school transition coordinators. This week, we wanted to have a conversation about the conversations we've either been having or been hearing about as it relates to SSI and the online quote-unquote process. Now, full disclosure, I say we. What I really mean to say is she, i.e. Megan. This is something that Megan has mentioned several times.
Yeah, and I feel like when we talk about what our conversations are going to be, I usually have to think for a minute. But this time I was like, I know exactly what we should talk about because I hear about it at least once a day from a parent or a teacher or just somebody in general. SSI, how do you apply? I feel like historically, parents had always been told it's better to call, make an appointment, and go in person. And so that's kind of the route I always went. But I know there definitely was a shift after COVID, and even more so in the past couple years, just with staffing and the abundance of requests that come in. I've heard from a number of families now saying that they are encouraged to apply electronically or online. So I went and I checked it out myself. And I can see how it gets a little confusing. And I think we've talked about this before because I know we had another conversation around SSI, which was very popular. I think the biggest mistake or holdup I see families having is that they automatically go for SSDI. Because when you get on the webpage, you see disability and click right there.
You know, and it's funny you should say that because I remember when, on one of our last conversations, we had talked about the disability employment event that we went to, and there was a panel. They talked about SSI, and they kept referring back. Like they kept, they were very specific to say that SSI is different than SSDI, and yet it seems to be this thing that keeps coming up, this confusion. All right. Yeah. So Megan being Megan and the person that she is, she's like, all right, this is something that comes up. I am going to create a
cheat
sheet, right? This is what I'm going to do. So I am basically going to introduce the cheat sheet. So Megan, for families who are applying, who are planning to apply for SSI electronically, where do they start?
You can go to the Social Security Administration website, which is www.ssa.gov. That's your starting point. I know it gets very overwhelming because it took me a minute. I was like, okay, I'm just going to take my time and go through this slowly. But you will definitely start by clicking on benefits. And it gives a description of SSI versus SSDI when you're in there. And I think it's important to read what the eligibility is because with SSDI, it will go into specifics about being injured on a job. SSI will talk about having that long-term disability that prevents you from working. So make sure under type, you click on Supplemental Security Income, SSI.
As you're telling me this, I've opened
my web browser.
Yeah, I've opened my web browser. I'm going through this step by step. I am so ready.
All right. I love it. Okay. Well, then you can call it out if there's any corrections that need to be made.
Let's see. So
then you're going to want to apply for an adult age 18 and over because remember, we're not doing any SSI application until your young adult is 18.
And do you want to quickly remind everyone why is it that they have to wait until after 18 before they apply for SSI?
Yeah, it's because it takes a little time for their system or database to recognize that the individual is now an adult. It has to be the first full month that they are 18. So, for example, if your birthday is November 6th, you're going to want to wait until December to apply. That's just best practice so that they fully recognize that you're 18. They're looking at only your assets or your young adult's assets and no one else. It just makes the process a little less complex.
They've gone to the website, they've clicked on the benefits tab, and they're going to, by type, they're going to click on Supplemental Security Income, SSI, and then there's a button there that they can click on that says Learn How to Apply.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you're going to apply for an adult age 18 and over. And then it will ask which SSI program you want to apply for. And then you will see that it will say Supplemental Security Income for Disability. So they do use the word disability in there, but you want to make sure it's Supplemental Security Income, SSI. That's the only benefit for this purpose that you want to apply for. So do not select any other box except for that one. And then you will click apply online. Did it work
Oh,
as you checked me?
see, I got to do supplemental security income for disability, and then no other boxes,
Mm-hmm.
and then learn how to apply. And
Yep.
then
And they'll have
apply.
some checkbox saying you understand and agree to those statements.
Hmm.
They're very thorough.
They're keeping it direct, which is
Yes.
good.
But it is a little scary or intimidating as I was going through it. I'm like, oh, I don't want to mess this up at all, you know?
Well, and again, like any typical bureaucratic based website, there's other things to look at. And of course, you're always probably thinking, am I missing something?
Yes, exactly.
Is it, am I on the right page? Like, I think I'm on the right page. I was on the right page the last time. But no, this seems to be pretty straightforward.
Yeah, once you get in there and you know what you're looking for, it's really not too bad. But then you will start a new application. And I went back and forth on how you select how you're applying because you can opt to apply for yourself, as representing your young adult, or you can select applying for someone else. And when I went through it, it looked like the easiest option was to select I am applying for myself.
So the idea is that you are essentially becoming the placeholder for your child. And so when you are entering in that information, you are entering in that information as if you were them.
For them, right? Because you're ultimately going to make a Social Security account for them. Because then it will ask if you already have one set up. And if you don't, that is the process where you will go next to start making a Social Security account. And then I kind of stopped there because that's where it requires you to create an account with either login.gov or id.me. And I figured families can take it from there.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I will throw out there, and this is just being a tech guy, when you create that password, make sure that it is secure. There's ways to do it to be safe, but definitely, and this is a challenge that I run into with my parents all the time, just definitely make sure you write it down. For somebody like myself, like I have a password manager, which is a computer program that will create passwords for me and then essentially store them. But that is not a typical practice. So just make sure that when you create this account that you are writing down those passwords and then you know how to get back to them.
And one thing that actually came up today when I was meeting with the parent, she was completing the list of or gathering the list of documents for her coordinator as they're preparing for the waiver application. And it was noted on there about Social Security, looking for the eligibility letter. And I think that the coordinator was trying to make sure that they had SSI and had put something in there about the SSI account. And the mother got very nervous and said, I'm not giving anyone that information. I said, no, no, no. Do not give out the account information to your CCS or anybody else. They should not need any of that. The only thing they need is the award letter from SSI stating that they are eligible. So I
Okay.
just wanted to throw that out there as well. No one will be going into this account except for you.
Got it. At this point, they've created the account, they've
Hmm.
logged in, they've taken care of all of the things, they've submitted all the documents that they need. Once that application is completed,
Hmm.
then you go back to the website. What purpose does the website serve at that point?
This was a really cool feature that I actually don't remember ever seeing, and I'm not sure if they updated it or I just got too overwhelmed and didn't go down, the right path. But you can actually check to the status to see where you are in the application process. And so I think you just have to enter your password, obviously, and go into your account, but you can see if there's been any progress on there. Additionally, you can estimate how long it might take to get a response from SSI. And that you can do without even going into your account. It actually has on there where you can put the month and the year that you applied, and it'll give you an estimate for when you might hear some determination from them. So there's families that I know are still waiting, and you could always go back and, backdate it to the month and year you put it in if you're still waiting on there, just to see when it should be going through.
So this seems to be somewhat of an upgrade from the
Yeah.
last time that we had this conversation. Because yes, I do remember that it was very clear that if you were going to apply for SSI, you had to do it in person. You could not do it online, which even back then I thought that was kind of weird. But
Yeah, it's one of those things that was always, like, ingrained and drilled into my head when I started this role, and I'm like, "Okay, okay, like, I guess that's just the better option," but so I don't know if it was always an option or if it just, like I said, with COVID has become more of a thing, and I know short-staffed and people aren't, in the office as much, and there's just I know that they actually one thing I know we mentioned when we talked previously about SSI is that families might get letters from departments or offices in Virginia, or I think it was like West Virginia or Kentucky, something crazy like that, because they've had to outsource and have other offices help with the eligibility. And one thing I learned from a parent too is that the offices don't always talk. So you might have an office in West Virginia handling your case, and then you go to the office by your house and give them your rental agreement. Well, they're not communicating. So it gets very convoluted and confusing, and I can understand what a frustrating mess it can be for parents.
wait a minute, a
Mhm.
governmental bureaucracy that is convoluted and frustrating, and the hand doesn't talk to the foot, or get out. You crazy talk.
I know, right?
But it sounds like then that this will be a nice supplement to that discussion that we had about SSI. So I was glad that we could have that. And
Mhm.
there will be a link in the show notes to the website for the application. And I have a sneaking suspicion that Megan is probably going to make her cheat sheet available
Mhm.
as well. So
Took
this
the
should,
words out of my mouth. It's
yeah.
coming soon.
Yeah, so this is going to be really helpful. And I think that is a fantastic place to end this conversation, because we're going to have more coming up and we're looking forward to it.
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Our discussions are everywhere: Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, and others. So hit that follow button and you won't miss out. Please, if you haven't already done so, consider leaving a review, preferably 5-star. It helps you spread the word and helps us because we know you're listening. Links to the information from our conversations are always in our show notes. Our YouTube channel contains curated videos that revolve around transition, including playlists for guardianship, alternatives to guardianship, ABLE accounts, and more to come. And then finally, check out our website, www.postsecondarytransition.com, full of information and links to more resources. Thanks so much for your time spent with us, and we look forward to talking again soon.